can't even do that. Yeah, that's what happens when you don't sing for 2 weeks. Who are we?
Oh, is it my turn to do this? The Screaming Divas!
In the woods.
In the Paris Opera House dressing room.
The Paris Opera House. In my dressing room.
This smells
and I don't know which side I'm on. Someday, you know what? Just do it. On there. Yeah. So who did we interview today, Miss Carrie?
Our dear friend and colleague, Christian Van Horn.
Bass baritone extraordinaire, who is in Paris, France, along with me right now. Yes. Different productions, singing Mephistopheles in a new production of Faust here at the Paris Opera House. Yes. Who also has a little podcast
called CVH Podcast, which we have enjoyed listening to.
Yes. Let's see. We're going to go do a Verdi Requiem together in Malta.
Yeah, he has been like the last minute fill-in bass baritone du jour.
Du jour. Yeah, thank you, because we're in Paris. Thank you for a little bit of French there. Yes, and a father and a husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, a really just a fun guy. Carrie and I had the pleasure of singing Anna Bolena with him at the Canadian Opera Company. So yes. All three of us were in the same show. Yeah,
we were. And I think he actually, as he points out, it's our first guest where all three of us have stood on the same opera house stage together.
Yeah, that is a first. So I think so. We interviewed a director that you and I both did.
Right.
A show of his at the same time. But yep, Christian Van Horn, funny guy. And watch this video, watch this clip, and make sure to check out his podcast, CVH
Podcast, on all places you can find the podcasts.
Yes, a lot of singer shenanigans as well.
Absolutely. Good times, people.
Check it out.
Check it out. Here's a clip.
Wait, I'll do Carrie. How old are we?
5.
This many.
Oh.
Maybe this many.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Best advice you've ever been given?
This is a slow burn. You want to do this as well as you can for as long as you can. That came from Greg Henkel. He said, this is a slow burn, CVH. There is no rush here. You don't need 5 flashy years. You need 30 rock solid years. Slow burn.
Hello. Are you paying attention? Oh my God, this is so going on the video.
He's so frozen.
Oh, he's connecting to audio. He can't hear us. Hello.
Oh, wow. Is it me you're looking for? 'Cause I wonder where you are. Oh, there he is. With his big microphone.
Christian, can you hear us? Hello?
What do you think, Carrie?
Can you hear us? Oh, are you there?
This is so going up.
Hi.
Hey,
oh my gosh.
How are you?
Okay.
He's alive.
We just want you to know that whole 2-minute thing is going in the video. Just letting you know.
Okay. It's like I've got all the equipment, but I'm just past that age where it all makes sense.
I gotcha.
Totally. Nah, you're not that old. I'm not buying it. Cheers.
Cheers. This may or may not be a vodka martini, but definitely is.
Oh, it definitely is. Okay, it's only 9 a.m. here in Nashville.
Oh,
so we're not drinking that early.
And I think I have to not drink today because my stomach is not a very happy stomach today.
Oh, all right. Oh,
Carrie gave me her stomach bug across the internet.
You guys look great.
Oh,
I just put a black shirt on. I was like, well, now I'm dressed up. You guys look amazing.
I mean, thank you. Well, hello.
We are the screaming divas.
I only do a radio show, so there's no video. I'm usually doing it in my t-shirt.
Gary, we messed up.
I mean, seriously, sometimes I wonder, like, what the hell were we thinking? We should have just done the podcast and the hair on the top of the head and no makeup, maybe no even deodorant, because why? Nobody knows.
Well, I mean, you don't need deodorant either way.
Our husbands know.
How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing? Where are you?
I'm in my apartment. I'm in Paris. In Paris. Sandra, we're not even 6 minutes from each other.
I know. This is another new one. We did he's frozen.
Did you freeze?
Welcome.
You froze for a second, but it seems to be back now.
Welcome to the internet in France. Yeah, we did an interview with Sophie Joyce, and we were in the same building. And
it still wasn't. Yeah, I'm the internet over there is not. It's not reliable.
Well, you got to get on the right.
It's all you have, though, right? Still.
Yeah.
That's a hot dang mess, people. She has no internet in her apartment. How long have you been in that apartment?
2 months.
3 months.
I mean, I don't know how you're surviving. I just thought that would kill me. Okay, Christian,
I wouldn't survive either. Yeah.
Christian, I need to know something.
Please.
How long did it take for your heat to come back on?
It was a whole 24 hours before it kicked back up. Yeah. It was 50 something degrees in here when I woke up. I was like, oh, because normally I turn it off. It gets so hot. I would turn it off at night. Right. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, it's pretty bad. Yeah. It was about 24 hours. But it was fun. And do what? Come shower at your house?
Yeah. Well, I have a second bedroom.
Oh, really? Oh, damn it.
There, I gave it away now. Yep. I have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Fancy. And
but no internet. No. And I just got my fridge on Friday.
Oh, that's right. They brought one up there that didn't fit.
Right through the window. I mean,
seriously, people, these are the joys of work, traveling, living on the road in other people's apartments.
And that's Sandra Rabanovsky. So you can imagine how it is for the rest of us.
Oh, come on. Seriously.
I don't know, Christian. I'm really dang picky about where I stay. So I would never. I told her I would have taken Uncle Amex and checked into the nearest hotel to have internet. There's no
I told Carrie she was going to give me her Uncle Amex, but
there's no way that would have happened. No.
My nightmare is down feathered pillows and comforters. Because if I get anywhere near it, like my eyes close up and I start wheezing, it's the one thing that we're like very, very clear about when we book a place. Like there cannot be any duck feathers in this place. He will die.
He will die.
You travel with your own pillow?
No, not usually. But we can make it. If you give them enough heads up warning, it's usually okay. But sometimes it gets through, and then I know immediately. I'm like,
get me out of here. We're like that with cats and with internet. Those two things. And I put in there, if we get there and the internet is not what you say it is, we're leaving.
Yeah. Or if there's been a cat in there, I know that too. Yeah.
That's no way. Like, peace out.
For me, it's smoke.
Yeah. Like over here, that's a thing.
Yeah. And even if the apartment doesn't have it, in these old buildings, it's the same ventilation system. And because I have asthma, and when you get that smoke going on, it's like you, Kristen, with
worse. People are like way better about smoking here. I mean, it's still going on, but there's a lot more vaporizing, which is, at least it doesn't stink.
It's true.
One of my favorite things with smoke, it was at Frankfurt, and it's the intermission of Tosca, and the whole orchestra is out on the outside having a smoke, and our dressing rooms are right there.
Oh yeah.
And so then all of a sudden I'm like, why is my nose running? Why do I have like post-nasal drip? What is happening? And then I'm like, oh my God. It was like an ashtray, but I mean, what do you do? I mean, there's nothing you can do. You got to figure it out.
Oh, I was in Russia and they were just smoking in the building everywhere. Just didn't matter. Smoking went on everywhere. You just deal with it.
Let's just like tell everybody that we all know each other. We worked together. We did a show together. I had a really good
all three
time.
Of us.
I really liked
the only guest that was in a show with the two of you at the same time.
At the
thus
same
far,
time.
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes. Thus far, yes.
I think so.
But we had a director that we both worked with at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And a lot of the singers we've interviewed, we both have worked with.
Yes, but
yeah, of course. Yeah, I just thought it was special that it was the same show.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are very special, Christian.
Oh yes, it's Christian. It's very special, and we both were actually married to you in the same show. So
we were.
That's right. Wow.
Okay.
Oh man.
I liked you the minute that I said, hey, can I bring in my scale and let's see how much we weigh with the costumes that we had to wear? And you were like, yeah, do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's cool. I can hang with
You never told me that.
They were
I
like
was wearing
pounds.
I had progressive fat suits.
Yeah.
And by the end of the show, I was wearing, it had to have been 40 or 50 pounds in clothing. It was wild.
Yeah, but you also had something in the front there to make you look a little bigger too. Like
it was a full-on fat suit. Oh, my codpiece. Yeah.
Yes, because this is Anna Belena we're talking about.
I requested the bigger one, obviously. There was like several to choose from, and I was like, this is a no-brainer. Just which one. You know which one I want.
It was hard not to stare at it during the show. You're like, no, don't, Sandra, look forward. It just was like the focal piece of the whole.
I needed to take away from the fact that I was learning the opera on the fly.
Well,
I was like, I'll distract them with this.
Oh man. All right. So how has the pandemic been for you? Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, can we just say like in his podcast, he's like described that to everybody, like the podcast, your podcast, everybody, if they haven't seen it, CVH Podcast, you talk about that a lot in the beginning about what happened. And
it was the whole reason I started it. It was the whole reason I started it. I felt so disconnected. I'm not special. I was like everybody else sitting at home. I did 10 months of nothing. And after about 8 months of nothing, I just felt disconnected so far. And I think my wife was done hearing my complaining, and I just needed somewhere else to go through it. And in speaking to people, most of my people are opera singers and lovers. And so it was very relatable. It was all of a sudden I was having a conversation with people where it was okay to vent frustrations and to be upset, and depression kicked in for a lot of people. And I wasn't spared that either. And it turned out to be an incredible therapist for me to have this place to speak and be real and decide that it's okay to be pissed off about it. I'm not to discount the horrors of the world, but pain is relative, and my pain was right in front of me. And it was the fact that I had all these scores on my piano, and one by one I'm throwing them on the floor because I wasn't going to get to it, and you're just like, it depressed me to sing. But I needed to use my voice. I needed to get it out. And that was the birth of the podcast.
There's a book called The 7 Stages of Grief. And it's not just, grief is not just about when somebody dies. Yeah. We all grieve, and so many singers, friends of ours now are grieving the loss of their career for a year.
Oh yeah. We are going to lose singers to this for sure. There are people who will hit their ending point and say, I need to do something else. I can't put all my eggs into this basket anymore. And that's a tragedy. That's a huge part of it.
It's not sustainable. You have to pay your bills. You have to pay rent. You have to keep living life. And
we said this the other day, I would be horrified if I was a young singer just starting out. Yeah. I mean, at the prospect that this could take more years. They were already staring down years to get things going, and now you're tacking more on. And then the jobs that do come back are not going to go to them. We're all free. Like everybody's schedule is wide open now, and so there's going to be a whole reorganizing of the pecking order, and it's a daunting thing to realize, I think, as a young singer.
Has your voice changed in the time off? Do you find that it's become richer, fuller, different?
That's interesting. I wanted to make sure that I just remained me, and I stopped singing for 3 or 4 months. I didn't make a note. It was too depressing. Yeah. And so I had a concert to work up to in January. And so I started to just slowly get my work in over a couple of weeks. And it wasn't long before I sounded like myself. However, stamina was a whole different topic. I didn't have 6 hours of rehearsal in me. And that was something that had to be built up not from square one, but almost, like your muscles have memory and you know how to do this. But there was a fatigue issue that worried me more than anything else. I don't know. Maybe I'm a year older. Maybe my voice is more mature. It's possible.
So does that mean that like when you hit France, because that was a last minute, I have listened to your podcasts. So France was a last minute thing for you. Did you find that when you hit rehearsals, stamina was still rough?
I had worked up to this Attila Highlights commercial gig in Chicago.
Okay.
And so I felt like I was ready to work, but I had not worked 6 hours. And so that was the challenge. And so every day I would just do a little bit more, a little bit in rehearsal, especially. I was like, all right, now today, sing all day, see what happens, and I just built that muscle back up again.
We should tell people, if they haven't listened to your podcast, what you're doing in France, like what show you're doing and what's happening with all that.
Yeah, and talk to us about how that happened.
Yeah.
I got a call. I was in Target because that's what you do, like I'm pretending I know how to use power tools. I'm running errands. I'm driving to school. Like I'm doing all those things that are like completely foreign to me, but you have to do them. And the phone rang and it was the agent. And so every time the agent's called in the last 8 months, it's been a nightmare. And so I looked at it and I'm like, oh God, what's gone now? What's gone now? And she said, it's a little crazy, but do you think you could be on your way to Paris on Sunday? I said, what's going on in Paris? Well, they're starting a new production of Mephistopheles and somebody's not showing up. A new production of Faust and somebody's not showing up. Can you go sing Mephistopheles?
Oh, yes. No, I'm sorry. The opera's named after you.
There is one that is named after me.
Yes, I know. I'm joking.
And so I thought about it for 10 seconds and I said, sure. And so immediately you're like, wait, where's my passport? I need a COVID test. Do I need work papers? There was I had a binder of papers to get me into the country because all these justifications and invitations and contract, it was a whole mess of stuff. Of course, nobody looked at it when I crossed the border. They were happy to, just like send you right on through. But within 48 hours, I was in this apartment. I had to quarantine for a week and then I could join rehearsal in progress.
Talk to me about the impact that had on your family, because that was so fast and furious. You've been there forever. I mean, are you still dealing with that? Because in
a way, it was better because nobody had any time to think about it.
Okay.
It was just like, this is work, this is a paycheck, this is what you do, go. And so there was no hesitation from home. I'm sure it was incredibly jarring on them. And my son, who's 6, that was jarring too, because all of a sudden after, it was almost, when you're 6, a year ago is that memory is so far ago, you don't really hold it. He doesn't remember me being gone so much. He only remembers me being home for 10 months. And so I said, Papa's got to go, my man. And how long, where, it was like all those questions. It was the first time that he seemed upset, but again, we didn't have any time. It was just time to organize and get on an airplane. I know it was jarring for them. It was jarring for me. It took a little while before everybody was back into a groove. And my wife and I know how to do this. We've done this for a long time, but I think it was difficult for him. It was difficult for me. I was used to being with them. I liked it. It was, if I could take my opera paycheck and just stay at home, I'd probably do that, but it's not possible. And so,
did you miss it? Did you miss all of this?
Did I miss singing?
Yeah. And the whole, not just singing, but
of course,
everything about it.
I mean, this
seeing
is my
people.
This is my identity. This is who I am. This is what I've been for 15 or 16 years now. And I do identify as a husband and a father, but I identify as a singer as much. And
wow,
that's where the depression came in. I lost my road family. I lost my autonomy to some extent, making music, making a show, telling a story, having that atmosphere that we all love. God, it was amazing. That first day I walked into rehearsal, I felt emotional. And then that first day that we had the orchestra, the other day we sang our Sitzprobe, and they feel that coming up from the pit. You're like, oh, right. I took this for granted. All those years.
Do you think it's changed you now? Do you feel like a changed person this pandemic?
Absolutely. I'll sing every performance like it's the last one because we don't know. I didn't know that a dress rehearsal of La Cenerentola for kids in New York was going to be the last show I did. I had no idea. Not that I would have done anything differently, but I just would have had the recognition that was going to be it for a while. And so I hope, and maybe we just go back to being selfish singers again. I hope not, but I hope that I keep that idea of this could be the last one. This could be the last one. And that has to make us better, right?
Have you ever thought about on the other side of that? I mean, eventually there's going to be a day where we are not doing this anymore for whatever reason. So have you ever thought, what your identity is after that and what your life could look like. And
great question.
I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing to me personally, because life has thrown me so many curveballs, even within this 20 years that I knew what I wanted to be on the other side. I knew I'd be okay. So
is it healthy to identify just as a singer? Do you think?
Yeah, I hope that I don't only identify as a singer, but I do identify as a singer. It's a big part of it.
Sure.
There will be a day where we're all done, we're all finished, and maybe we knew it was our last show, and maybe we don't. I didn't think it would happen at 42, right when things were getting good.
Right.
and
True.
So that was the part that was so jarring. But yeah, that day will come. You know, there's plenty of basses who went on and on and on. I hope I don't have to. I hope that I don't want to. I hope I'll know when it's time to leave with some amount of dignity left.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother conversation, isn't it?
That is.
Look, our replacements are out there and they're working hard.
They are.
And there's a day where we're too expensive or don't have the right look anymore. Or there's a million reasons why it's not going to be us in the future. And so I'll accept that when those things are real. They're not real yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're too young. You're both too young. I had this conversation with the general manager the other day about Traviata. And I'm going to be 52 next month. And it was a really tough moment for me. And I didn't know it was going to be so tough. But I said, you know what? I'm not the ingenue anymore.
Right.
And that was like, I hung up the phone and I started crying.
Oh,
I was like, you're old, Sandra. You know?
You are not old. Like
you sing such a specialized voice type now that there's only 3 of you and only one of you is good. And so your ability to do this will go on as long as you want it to. But
it's staring you down in the face. It's hard. You don't realize it until you get there.
Yeah. See, I started out singing old man roles, so I feel like I can end with old man roles.
And Carrie started out with the mezzo best friend, right?
Yeah. I'm always like, well, I can always go back down to mezzo as an old lady, so why not? You know, I have no problem singing it, whatever second screech from the left. Yeah, fine.
Sandra told me she started as a mezzo. I couldn't believe it.
I did.
Okay, so can we go back to something, because in your podcast, I have to say, like, comments like that, like, make me start yelling at you. So there are moments where I'm like, I bust out laughing, like just belly chuckles. Other moments where I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Christian? And then other moments where I'm like, did you really seriously just say that?
The thing is, I don't edit it, and I just want it to be me. And if people, I would rather be hated for what I am than loved for what I'm not. And so I just want it to be as authentic as possible. And if that ruffles feathers, so be it. The rule book is out the window, in my opinion. Now that we've gone through COVID, I think the rule book is out the window. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Carrie and I have definitely changed our lives. Wow. We talk about ourselves way too much. Let's talk about fame in this business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Define fame for us. How would you define fame?
That's a fantastic question. Fame is a funny thing. I mean, we're not going to be Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. It's not that kind of recognition. But within our circles, we have that stature exists within our little frame. I think the ability to say no whenever you want probably means a certain element of success. And if success is fame, if that's the same, if those things are interchangeable, that might be my definition, my ability to say no, not that, something else. I'll take this instead. Or when an intendant comes to you and says, "What do you want to do?" That's a level of fame I think that very few people have. Most people don't get that luxury where you sit down with the boss and they say, "Well, what do you want to do?" And then you give them the list, and then that list happens. That's probably a level of fame.
Is fame fickle?
Of course. Of course. We can all be replaced. You have 5 bad shows. What are you?
Yep.
If you have 2 bad productions, what are you anymore? You have our value is done. There's name recognition. There are people who can sell tickets no matter what their voice sounds like, but those people are few and far between.
Now they are, yeah. Do you think that that's the main goal of this business, is to be famous? Is it for you?
No, but I think my goal in this business would lead to that. I don't think famous is the goal. I think famous is probably the end result of the work. I think that's what happens after you achieve your goals, as opposed to the point of it. I don't.
Yeah, it's a byproduct of it.
Anywhere, of course.
I wanted to define that very early on for myself, because to me, there were certain opera houses I really wanted to sing at, but I also wanted financial security. So I wanted to know, could I raise a family? Could I buy my first house? Could I do all this stuff while singing? And to me, like, the biggest success stories personally of opera singers are those who have raised kids, put them through college, all by singing and singing on stages, whatever those stages are, whether it's the big ones or the medium-sized ones or whatever that is. To me, that's a success story, because we actually get to sing and act for a living and support ourselves that way. So for me,
I remember a manager saying that to me a long time ago, and not my manager, but they said, success is self-determined. Absolutely. Just like you said, if you're happy in a one-bedroom apartment your whole life, and that's what you obtain, then you have been successful. There are people who have the world and still don't feel successful. It's all about, I think, it's so personal. I don't think it can be guided next to somebody else. There's only one Sandra Rabinovsky, and if every soprano out there says, I'm not going to be successful until I'm her, they're going to have a sad life. And so success is a scale.
But I think there's a difference between success and fame. At least in my mind, and maybe we're fucking flies there, but you know.
Oh my God, that is such a hashtag. I haven't
heard that one before. I have not heard that one before. Is that a Canadian thing?
It might be. Yeah. Carrie knows I have all the Canadian things. Did you have a plan when you started this career? Did you
Yes.
map it out? Or did it just?
I wanted to sing for a living. That's what I wanted to do. That was my plan, and I was going to die trying. There was no plan B. I had no backup. I only saw one goal, and that was it. Now, I think that my determination and work ethic pushed me past that into a different realm. But my only goal was to just make a living. That was my goal. But I wanted to do it singing. I didn't want to do anything else. I can't imagine sitting behind a desk. Some people are brilliant at it. I am not. I've never done it. I can't imagine doing it. I only had one goal, and I think for people at a certain level, and I'm looking at you, Sandra, it doesn't happen by mistake. You need a plan. You need a focus. You're never going to hit the moon unless you decide to go to the moon. And so that was my goal was to have one singular focus and to get there. I
set deadlines for myself. I don't know about you, Carrie. Did you have deadlines or things that you wanted to do by a certain time?
I did, and then that all changed when I moved to soprano. And then I had to jump off a cliff. I had to be brave enough to
reset.
Say, I'm gonna what?
A whole reset.
A whole reset. I had to rebuild the whole career, and I had to prove to people that that's what I was. And so that put me back years in having to do that, because I also had to try stuff out in crazy places just to see if it was going to work.
Right.
And then it put me. Then soprano opened up a whole new world of singing in bigger houses and with bigger people and all that kind of stuff. And the pandemic has just kind of derailed a whole shit ton of. So whatever,
you were just ramping up with all of it. You were just
Carrie. I had worked with Sandra one or two times before we all met in Toronto, and then you and I were new to each other. We hadn't met, and all of a sudden you opened your mouth, and I'm like, "Whoa, what the hell is this?" Like I was shocked. I'm like, "There's two of these ladies in this show. What we're gonna do?"
We're gonna battle out, man.
There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise on the stage. I was so happy to be a part of it. I thought that all of a sudden my game was leveled because it wasn't going to be Sandra and the backup singers. All of a sudden it was like, oh, we're gonna have a show.
We got some players, man. I have to say, like, singing with, I mean, I know you know this, but singing with Sandra, like, make sure you bring your A game. You better effing
100%. 100%.
Except
we're gonna get rolled over.
When she spits on you in the duet.
No, I'm sorry. Karen. You spit on me. You spit on me.
That's what I said.
Oh, sorry.
When I spit.
and I almost peed my pants. But that's why we're gonna do a concert, because I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't think I'm Marilyn Horne, but we need to bring back some kind of like Joan Sutherland, Marilyn Horne.
You guys could sell that in a second. You could sell it in a second.
It's time.
Oh yeah, it's happening. It's happening.
I love it. That's a great idea. It's a fantastic idea.
And we're gonna have special guests, so stay tuned.
I have to, special guests, but I admire the two of you in that really singular focus. I think because in college, when I lost the voice and I had to rebuild it, it made me really think, okay, oh my God, Marilyn was right. It's two little pieces of grizzle in your throat. It could go at any moment. What is your life?
Is that what she said?
Yes. Yeah, she always did. She said the two pieces of grizzle, it could go at any moment. What is your life going to look like if that happens? And so there was always something in my mind where I really want this well-rounded life. So at the end of it, and if that meant that I didn't make it to the level that you two are, I was totally okay with that, because the career I've had has been so awesome and so fun. And so I've seen the world, and not all of it, not yet, but does that make sense? Like I needed that picture when I hit 70 or whenever I'm on my deathbed. I wanted that vision. Does that make sense? But I've always admired people like you guys.
There is a price.
There is a price to pay. Yes, there is. I agree with that. Missed birthdays, weddings.
There's a price to pay. There's a sacrifice of almost anything you can think of.
Yeah.
There's a decision that you make whether or not you're willing to deal with that. And I get worried that I'm gonna be too cautious because I'm gonna be sad later, and it's just not the right approach for me.
Okay.
And so I am willing to a point to pay the cost, and maybe that someday that'll change. It's very possible. I don't discount that could happen, but for now I'm comfortable with it.
Cool.
I don't know. Maybe you're done with this type of music. I do check in. I get the 50,000 mile tune-up. I don't take regular lessons. I have trusted people and coaches who are happy to tell me if I sound like me, or if I ask an opinion, will give it honestly. And so I trust that, but I don't. I've only had one voice teacher. He gave me such a solid foundation. But your technique is your technique. It's not a teacher doesn't transplant it into you. It gets filtered, and so I think what I do, I know better than anyone. Now, there are people, you can't hear yourself the way other people do. And so I do have trusted people, but I don't take formal voice lessons with any regularity. I see my teacher once a year if I'm lucky.
Okay. Wow. But the bass voice is a little different too. I mean, you guys are a different animal, right? It doesn't change as much.
I don't know. That's what everybody says. It's not, I don't have to do a little pianissimo thing like you do. And so you're a Ferrari, and I can, you need that fine tuning done by a specialist. Whereas, I just don't have to deal with that kind of pressure or tiny little specific things.
I get it.
I make my noise. I know when my vibrato sounds slow, and I know how to fix that. That's the only thing that I need to keep myself at check on.
Slower vibrato, man. If that were my only problem.
Yeah.
Can we go back to like pandemic and 10 months at home? So how much housework did your wife make you do?
Oh, I have an angel that I live with. She would probably never ask me to do anything. She is incredibly self-reliant. I have been gone for so long, for so many years now, that it's not like I get there and the place is a disaster. I get there and the place is running beautifully, and then I just figure out where I can help, and start to figure out, okay, let me handle this. Let me handle this while I'm home. I'll do this while I'm home, and just take the pressure off. And sometimes it's as simple as doing the laundry, or putting my son in the bath, or just driving to school. They're very simple things. I don't know. I think I do what's obvious, and so it's not like I just go home and put my feet up. I think I'm helpful right away, and so even a little bit of help feels like a lot.
Do you find, Sandra and I both have talked about this because we both have been married for forever, or been in a relationship for forever, that sometimes when you're away and you come back in, it's almost like you have to fit in with their life, because the minute you start doing your own stuff, it's sometimes there's a little like, why did you move my stuff? Why did you put something there? Why do you
What do they call that? It's like reintegration or something. You have to find your space, and because they do have something in progress. And so fortunately it was the summer where all of a sudden my son was off of school, and so we all sort of entered this new time together.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a couple of weeks there where you're just not sure where you fit in. And it's not that they're being unwelcoming. They just have a routine.
Right.
And so you're trying to figure out where it is you come in there. And I stupidly end up blowing up some of the routine because my son will say, "Hey, can I have 3 cookies?" And I'm like, "Have 6." Like I don't, I'm like, "It's a cookie. Enjoy, buddy. Of course, have the cookies." And then all of a sudden,
and your wife's
all of a sudden, he's not eating his lunch, and she's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. We just had some cookies." Like I think I ruined that kind of stuff.
Well, does your wife ever travel with you, or will she?
Yeah, my wife traveled with me for 12 years before my son was born. And so we got to see the world. It was like one long permanent vacation. And back then I wasn't singing anything that even required me to be in much rehearsal. And so we had a good old time.
You're so lucky.
Is she a singer?
Yeah, Kelly was a singer. We met in school, and she sang for I guess she stopped singing 2007. So 2007 to 2014, she was with me nonstop, just everywhere, all over the world. And we had a great time. And then when my son was born, for the first 5 years, we all went together, just the 3 of us. He wasn't in school yet. Now that he's in school, it's a whole different ballgame.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, cherish it. He's going to be driving and then married and.
Oh my God. I'd like to hit pause. I really like 6. Like 6-year-olds understand me. I got 6-year-old humor down. And so I can make him laugh real easy. And so it's the perfect time. In 5 years, Dad's going to be really lame. But for now, I'm pretty cool.
Do you miss being together? Oh, sorry. Do you miss being together like that? Do you miss traveling like that together?
Oh, sure. It's not easy traveling. I travel by myself way better than I travel any other way. And traveling with a baby is a whole thing. It's not fun. Internationally, we went on plenty of international trips, and they're off their sleep schedule. Like, a newborn baby needs about 20 diapers a day. Like, this is, and you're on some 8-hour overnight flight, and we're sitting in the back then. You can't put a baby in the front.
No,
you're in the back. And
the stares you get at the screaming baby.
I remember a guy grabbed me in the back of an airplane one time, and my son was doing okay, but it was towards the end of the flight. He had enough. And the guy grabbed me and he says, "Just let it wash over you. Just let it wash over you." Like, this time will go by and it'll be a memory. Just, this is the nightmare time. Just deal with this now. And I appreciated that, because people do give you the death stare, but there's also people that went through this and they're like, it's okay. Everything's
fine. I know. But in the moment, it's just like, is this ever going to end?
Oh, you can't believe it. No,
So we want to talk about social media with you.
Yeah.
Because, listen, go Carrie. Carrie's
like, go. No, do it, girl.
What do you feel? Is there an etiquette, do you feel, for social media, or is it just the Wild West now?
I hope there's etiquette.
Tough question.
Yeah. I don't like the curated feel of a lot of it. I don't like the framing of a lot of it. I get put off by that. I feel like I can smell it. I can smell when somebody's showing me how beautiful everything is, because as we all know, sometimes you don't have a refrigerator and Wi-Fi, and some, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's a million things about this road life that aren't just rosy. And so I get troubled, and it's not just our people. This is everything, where you start comparing yourself to somebody's online personality. And I think in a lot of ways that's poison.
Yep.
This is a necessary medium. Clearly it's necessary to an extent. I have my limits. Other people have different limits. I'm allergic to anything that smells false or fake. That I recoil from. And that was a lot of the podcast. And like Carrie said, where she was just like screaming at me or laughing hysterically. I'm just like, I think it's just real, for better or for worse. And so I thought, if I'm going to be a part of this world of content and social media, I'm just going to be me, whether or not people like that or not. I'm not. That's not my goal here. I'm just going to use this authentically. I hope I do. I hope I do. Call me on my bullshit, okay?
Okay. Well, we're putting it out there. Did you think about your presence on social media before you started the podcast, or did you just kind of do it and say, "Hey, I'm jumping in with both feet, and we'll figure it out later"?
I had everything. I had the Instagrams and Facebook fan page, whatever that means. I did those things. I have a Twitter account. I'm not on there, but I don't know. It happened so fast, and I was hard on some people who really embraced it. I was hard on some friends of mine who really embraced it, and I didn't like that. People with tremendous amount of talent, and I thought, you don't need this. You don't need to do this. You're an artist. That speaks for itself. And I got troubled by how much time and effort I thought was going into it. And I wasn't accusing them. I just didn't want to have to do it. I didn't want to have to join this because, at first it's Facebook, and then it's Instagram, and then it's TikTok, and then there's all these words I don't even know anymore. And I go, do I have to? Do I need another goddamn username? Do I need? Do I need to sign up for another one of these things? Like when are we done with this? Can we just this is enough? There's always the new and next thing. And I was hard on people early on who really embraced it and challenged them to tell me why it was so important. But I understand the need to connect. I understand the need to continue to be present. Those things make sense to me in 2021. I get it. I see it from a distance. I view it from a distance to some extent.
Because I was really tired of the fake bullshit on social media, and I
you found the right place with me.
I really wanted real conversations with artists about the life and not this glossy picture, because it's not always that way. I also thought
I don't think my friends sound very good through my computer speakers. I don't get that. I don't get the hair on the back of my neck standing up when I hear the online singing. I don't think there's any future for us with online singing. Now, look, we may add an element of this. Streaming has become more important. I understand that, but unless we're in the theater, I'm not sure any of this has got any sort of legs or longevity.
I'm really curious. I'd really love to know. So maybe on one of your podcasts, after you do the first show where they're filming, right? I want to know what that feels like, because how does that feel like to sing they might have patrons in the audience, so maybe 100 people, but what does it feel like to only sing to that when we're used to having 50 to 90% capacity most times? So I want to know.
I'll definitely fill you in on that. I think that some of the pressure will undoubtedly be off because you won't feel the crispiness of that crowd. You're not going to feel their presence. So I think
I agree.
The pressure may be off a bit. Sandra can tell us she did two Aidas like this, but we still have to do a show, and we know that potentially a lot of people will see it online. And even if they put the best version of the 2 we capture, that's another cushion to have. But at the same time, we have to be us. We have to do a job worthy of this place.
What about live? Sandra can talk about this because she and I have talked about it personally, but just about a live streaming, the show is being like, holy crap, like that's a little scary. That's different than a live audience.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Is yours live? Is your Faust going to be live?
No. Two captures, and did you do a live?
Yes.
Oh, maybe we are. And I just don't know. It's very possible. I don't know.
Maybe you don't want to know. Just don't tell.
With the hardest note in all of the soprano repertoire. Go!
Nobody's ever going to feel bad for you, Sandra, because you make it sound easy. If you made it sound hard, we might be worried for you.
Yeah, but
I was talking to myself.
So I'm sorry, but it could have been one of those moments, like on the YouTube where they have every famous singer everywhere cracking on the high. So there is, of course she's peeing her pants. Like this better not be one of those moments.
And I was here alone. I tell you, I was doing talking to myself in my dressing room when I came back off stage. I was like, you can do this. So literally out loud. Because it's so nerve-wracking.
I love that still happens for you. I love that is still something that you go through, because I would think that if you reach a certain point, you say, well, it's only me and I'll just do it the way I do it, and fuck them if they don't like it. But that's still that pressure is still put upon yourself. I love that. Yes. I hope I'm always like that.
And it's forever out there. We have to remember that once they've recorded this, people can forever listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And usually we've signed it away for nothing.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. We have to talk about that. But first off, do you have any say, Christian, over which takes they take? Do you have any say whatsoever?
I'm sure I don't. No, I'm sure I don't. There's only one person on this trio here that has that kind of say, and it's not me. She's down here for me.
There you go. Yeah, well, said soprano might have not sung her best high C in the O Patria Mia, but she did.
I'm pretty sure that I did a Norma in San Francisco that was supposed to be put out and was never put out.
Are you talking to Carrie?
I think I was pretty sure. I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna get a DVD fee, and I was like, fantastic. And then they were like, oh yeah, about that DVD thing, it's not happening.
I don't know why that happened.
Okay. Tell me this. Why? And I just don't understand this, and I don't know how to change this. But in the whole realm of music performers who sign contracts, we are the only fools that sign the contracts we sign for digital content. Nobody else does this. Our contracts, when another lawyer who works for entertainers looks at our contracts, they say you are idiots for signing this. And I'm including all of the. I'm sure
it happened. I'm sure before singers weren't paid for the HDs at the Met, and that had to be fought tooth and nail for. And there is a fee structure on those that you get something, or it's half a fee or one full fee. I forget
it's ridiculous.
The terms of it, but before then there was nothing. But I think originally it was hard to know when it was going to make money or how many people were going to see it. There's no prediction, they didn't know how successful it was going to be. And I think the terms they predate the success of it. But I don't, how all costs have to be recouped before we start to see anything.
Right.
And so just to sign away a fee or half a fee or whatever it is, at least we're getting that. Because if you're waiting for the back end, that could be pennies and it could be years down the road. And so I do sort of understand why we sign away the initial, okay, we're going to do an HD in the movie theaters. Here's an extra fee. I understand where that came from, and I appreciate it, because I think if I was signed on to make, 1% of the back end, that could be nickels by the time it got to me.
But sorry, what?
Well, if we knew that they were going to be, especially the Met was going to be broadcasting all of these HDs for free.
Like during right now where they keep putting up another one yeah.
But I think going forward from here, though, I think that digital is now part of our career, period.
Yeah.
So you're right. I think you're right. It'll stay here. I hope it's not as prominent as it is, but there'll be an element that always exists, and we may be in shows that are designed for that purpose.
Well, I mean, there is an element. I didn't say this, but we have to. People probably don't realize that we have to modulate the way we sing. I had to think about the way I sang for this Aida, the way I sang when I did Napoli, when I sang in Wuppertal, Germany for the Met HD, because singing for mics is not the same as singing for an audience. Because
they're not just capturing your voice in that space. You had to actually consider a microphone.
And you need to think about that too, Christian, for the Faust.
But I won't. I won't. I'm not gonna change what I do for that. What would I do differently?
There's an element of singing for the mics that we have to think about. And I don't know if a lot of people know that.
Tell me what, though. Tell me what. In what respect?
I don't sing 100% when I'm singing for mics. When I have a mic on me here.
Because you don't have to, or because you think it's going to sound overblown, or?
It does sound overblown.
Gotcha.
And
I'm there is no audience, so of course I can't say this, but I sing for the people who've bought a ticket and are sitting in front of me. Right?
Sure, I do too. And that's a decision that we have to make too. The Met HD is a little different in that the mics aren't on us right here, but the mics are in front of us. So I sing Met HDs, I sing like I sing in a real theater.
I did a Met HD last year, and my microphone was on my lapel, and I got grabbed by the baritone, and he put his goddamn hand over it, and during a humongous section of a duet, I was out. It's like somebody had turned it off because he had his hand over it. And I don't know, like I can't try and consider what's going out over over the recording. I don't know. You know, the people in the house heard me, and I guess that's all I can. I'm not sure I could worry about much more.
You have to think about it. It's a conscious decision. When I did my first Med HD, I had to think also not just the sound, but the faces that we make are.
Yeah, the close-ups. Yeah, the close-ups are a whole different thing. I'm a lot better at about 50 feet. When you get right up on top of me when I'm singing, like one eye is like traveling, and
yeah, they don't need to see all the fillings that we have, right? You know,
yeah, or you're like, you know, how many singers are out there popping their ears every 5 notes? I mean, you know, we've all worked with the ear poppers, and they're making all sorts of noise and faces.
Spitters, like,
Don't you think though that I'm questioning Sandra, because do you think that's for larger voices? The larger voices really have to really think about that.
Yes. And that's my coach. He taught me that. Sing for the mics. Because you have to, he says, Sandra, you can't go whole hog. You know, you can't give 100%. Like, especially in the triumphal march, you know, when you're just trying, when it's live, you have to give 150% to ride over that chorus and all the Verdi stuff. Yeah. But when you have a microphone on, you're like, okay.
Yeah. So that's it. You don't have to work quite as hard, because if they can't hear you, they'll just turn you up.
Right. But then there's an element of distortion.
I would have a think through that whole score, all those moments where you feel like you have to blow it out. I wouldn't do it. Not if you're not for HD.
Nope.
Yeah.
You don't need to. But that's a whole nother element now that we have to think about as singers.
Right.
We didn't grow up doing notes.
I remember getting some notes from a director during one of the Met HD broadcasts, where a note came in and said, "Hey, you're standing behind so-and-so. And because of the distortion of the camera, I was like triple size." And they were like, "We can, you know, like your face is so present in this moment. And there was no other place that I could be. I was going to be in this shot." They were like, "Just realize that in this moment where I thought I was way in the back in the dark," they were like, "You're as clear as day. Don't pick your nose," or whatever. Like, just make sure you're keeping your character, because you are really present right here. And I thought, I never thought that I would get notes from a movie director, you know, like, oh, another person in here telling us what to do.
Yeah, but you know what? That's actually kind of brilliant, because you could have looked like a total douchebag standing.
Totally. Oh yeah, no, like, I appreciate it.
Oh,
I'm not on camera. Okay.
I'm not on camera.
But how many of my colleagues trying to make me laugh in the middle of a show? Like, it happens all the time.
Oh, those are my favorite moments ever. Favorite moments ever. Yeah.
Rusalka.
Oh, I couldn't help it.
Kira comes up to me when I mute Rusalka in the second act, and she just comes up to me and like, and then she walks away.
I can remember doing a Rigoletto in Chicago, and Frank Laparda would take props from the tables, and he would just pick them up, and then he would just come hand them to you as if that was part of the show. And now you'd be standing there with a lamp in your hand. You bastard. Like, he's trying to make you laugh. Or Frank he's got coins in his pocket. He's got coins in his pocket, and he's rolling them into the prompter's box. You're like,
oh my God, I love that.
He was the worst. He and Christine Gerke had long running pranks going on at the Metropolitan Opera on stage.
I believe it. Yeah.
During the Magic Flute. I mean, oh my God. Like, ah.
Okay, Christian, other than singing and having a family, do you have hobbies that you love to do? Not podcast.
Not podcast. I paint. I like to think that I'm a painter to some extent. I started a long time ago. 90% of what I've done will never see the light of day. And then the 2% of the last 10% I would ever show anyone. But yeah, I started off doing watercolors and moved into acrylics and oils, and it's very important to me when I can do it. It's not always easy. It's not always easy to travel with it. I traveled with watercolor stuff for a long time.
Wow.
But we just live in all these beautiful places, and I started just capturing where I was.
I love that.
That's cool. You'll have to maybe you can share one with us.
Sure. Yeah, I could share one. I'm sure I could find something.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll just put it up. So, what's going on next for you?
Well,
yeah, wink it a wink.
Most famous bass baritone in the world. The most famous bass baritone in the world can't get out of his country, and so CVH is jumping in. and I'll get to go sing with my dear Sandra and Kaleha and Marco Ameliato. And we're going to go to Malta and make our way through a Verdi Requiem.
Okay, I need a favor. I need you to get into that man's house, Kaleha's house, and go into his cave, like wherever he has water or something down in some cave. And I need a singing video down there. I need it.
You got it. You got it.
Should we do it together?
And yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I want to hear that. It'll break.
He has a grotto. Are you saying he has a grotto like the Playboy Mansion?
Yeah. He's got some. I have a feeling. I need video. Okay, so no, but I really need some video of Kaleha, and he also needs to cook for you because yeah.
And we need to drink his wine.
I'm not going to stop until he drunkenly does my podcast too. Like, that's very important to me.
He does impressions. Just watch out. And he thinks he's funny.
I don't know?
That's
you think
the worst.
I have lived with his Trump impression for 4 years. Like, it's a nightmare. It's all he's got.
Nothing else.
Okay.
Poor Joseph.
One last question. Do you read your reviews?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. You know what? I was for 10 years I sang tiny rolls, and those tiny rolls were only mentioned if it went great. Nobody ever said Mazzetto was a piece of garbage. And so if my name was in print, it was good. And so now that I sing big stuff and bigger things, now the reviews are turning the corner where the criticism is real. And now it's starting to affect me, where I've gone, well, definitely don't read that blog anymore. Like, okay, that one's we're not going to read. Don't read that message board comments. Don't read YouTube comments. God, please don't read YouTube comments. That has ruined a night for me more than once, where I was like, what the fuck is that? Or my mother will write to me and be like, somebody said the following, and she'll tell me, somebody said this on your YouTube video. And I'm like, I didn't even put that video up. I what?
Mom, why are you telling me this?
But for years I read them because if my name was mentioned, it was good. And not to say that I'm great, but only if I did get mentioned, it was in a good way.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they can be constructive criticism too. If you have thick skin, if you can take and if you don't believe all the good ones and then don't believe the bad ones, like, you have to believe it all. And you have to take it all in. I hope it doesn't affect
the way I do things, but it is important to know how you're viewed, I think, by people you trust. I mean, if it's Tomasini in the New York Times and he says, my God, he had an off night, I should probably hear that. I don't, but if it's some god-awful catty blog, comment section, that doesn't really hold weight.
But don't you know it? I mean, I know when I walk off stage, if I'm being very real and honest with myself, what that was. Was that good? Was that bad? Was that, where was I in the spectrum of things? I know. So then I can handle reading the reviews because.
But do you think you've ever had a bad night? You were just like, oh, that was bad.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
I've had moments where I'm like, well, that could have gone better. But I never thought overall I didn't tell the story or didn't put on the show I was supposed to. If my voice was at 90% instead of 100, okay, that fine. But I never thought that I didn't do my job.
Well, no, I mean, I always do my job, but I mean, there's a scale of that was an amazing night and this was a okay night, and that was like, damn girl, maybe you shouldn't have sung that night.
But that usually involves illness. I mean, I walked on the stage when I shouldn't have. Like, I sang a Trovatore in Chicago, and God knows how I got through that with walking pneumonia. But like Carrie said, probably shouldn't have done that. But Mama's got to pay her bills,
I sang with the Cleveland Orchestra at Carnegie Hall, and 1,000% should have canceled, and I didn't. And I went on, and I coughed my way through the whole dumb thing. It was my voice, I even had I went and saw the doctor and had the steroid shot and all that stuff. And it was still just like my cords were so swollen. It was not happening. And I shouldn't have gone on. And I was so worried about the review. And the review came out and they were like, well, it was clear that he was struggling with an illness, but that didn't seem to affect blah, 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 blah. But I thought, oh my God, I pulled off a magic trick. But in your head, while it's happening, you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. I should not be out here. I should be in the hotel. You have fucked up, CVH. That's like inner monologue the whole time.
I've also I feel like in the last, 5 years, maybe even longer, that the art of reviewing, the people that are reviewing us really don't know the business. They don't know the history of the singers. They don't know the history of the art form. It's just let somebody go out there and do this. And so I really stop, unless it's somebody I know who knows this business. I just don't really give a shit, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it'll ruin your breakfast. It won't ruin your dinner. Like you go, oh, too bad.
Especially when they like rave about some singer that night who really was just a hot damn mess. I mean, we all knew it. Everybody knew it. The administration knew it, and they say that they're like the next second coming. I'm like, okay, you have no idea what you're talking about. So
I remember.
Are you ready for rapid fire?
Yeah. Or is there anything anything else you want to talk about, Christian?
You guys are so beautiful and so nice to have me on. I saw Sandra. We were getting our COVID test. Like, well, the first day I was here. Oh, look how sexy I am. My God, excuse me. And we were getting our COVID tests, and I hadn't seen Sandra in a while, and probably within the first 2 sentences, she says, "Will you do Screaming Divas?" And she like put her finger up. "Will you do Screaming Divas?" And I said, "Yeah, try and stop me." And I said, "Will you do the CVH podcast?" And she says, "Yes." And I was like, I've got her. She made a terrible mistake in inviting me on.
For tat.
She has to do mine.
Are we forgetting that I'm the one that asked you on Instagram like 3 months ago?
Yes. Well, right. But I thought, well, you've got Thomas Hampson and Peter Gelb to get through. I thought, all right, in about a year and a half, when they're like dumpster diving, she'll remember that she wrote this message to me.
No, I don't.
When Rufus Wainwright isn't available anymore. Kate Walsh.
All right, rapid fire.
Yeah, rapid fire.
Okay.
Go, girl.
What is the most beloved thing that you own?
I have a cannon that was a small cannon made out of steel that was given to me, copper and steel, given to me by my teacher the first time I sang Mephistopheles in 2001 college 20 years ago.
Cool. Okay.
I would be very sad. That's like everything else in my life. Every other possession in my life can be replaced. This is irreplaceable.
Replaceable.
Nice.
Love it. Best wardrobe malfunction in a show.
I had a mustache fall off mid-line in a Rigoletto in Chicago, and I was singing Count Soprano. And as I was singing, the mustache flipped, like one side flipped out and was like, in the breeze with my voice. And then I very discreetly pulled the rest of it off and continued my show.
You're like,
oh no.
How did you start laughing? Or your colleagues, weren't they laughing?
Well, I refuse. Nobody will ever glue any facial hair on my face again. I refuse. Like I have PTSD from that moment. I'm not allowing anybody to glue something to my face ever again.
Oh,
best advice you've ever been given.
This is a slow burn. You want to do this as well as you can for as long as you can. That came from Greg Henkel. He said, this is a slow burn, CVH. There is no rush here. You don't need 5 flashy years. You need 30 rock solid years. Slow burn.
Okay. What's a lie you recently told?
A lie I recently told.
Hey, that's a good one.
Yeah, right. Evil.
I don't know.
It's so big. Just kidding.
It's so average.
Oh,
I have no idea.
Dear friend Carrie.
I can't think of one. I don't know. I probably lied about my weight. Probably said I was much smaller than I actually am.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a bad answer. That's not interesting or funny. But
okay, fine. Then what's the last thing you Googled?
Should I check? Probably screamdivas.com, because I found out you had a website. And I was like, they have a website. Wait a second. Do I need a website?
Yeah, we do podcasts too.
We're fancy as hell, man.
Well, I knew that, but I was like, you have a website? Let me look.
Okay. If you were a fragrance, what would it be called?
Reliable. I keep filling in. I keep jumping in for all the cancelers. That's my latest thing is fixing the problem. So, the fixer or the reliable.
I love it.
Smells okay.
Someday they'll realize they should just hire me first.
There you go. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, I know you work out a lot. So is there a no fail motivation song? I guess maybe for working out or for singing or whatever. No fail motivation.
No fail motivation. I have a playlist. Some of it's very angry. Most of it is 70s classic rock. I'm trying to think. What's number one on there? I think the workout mix that I have now, this is pretty angry music, but it's Metallica's Master of Puppets. I'm not a heavy metal fan, but this thing will get you out of bed in the morning and get you like, it's angry. So it's like, get to the gym right now, get there.
Go.
Both, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, we both know why you're here. Get your fat ass moving. Like,
get it done.
It's angry music, and I'm not a heavy metal fan, but it definitely moves me.
Are you still working out in the morning there? Like even when you travel, is morning your still go-to for workouts?
Yeah, I have my TRX here. If I don't do it in the morning, I won't do it.
Okay.
I did finally get myself into the gym down the street. It took some finagling, but I did.
I heard that on your
get
podcast.
Myself in. If I don't do it in the morning, I won't go.
FYI, people, wait, I don't remember what number episode that was, but that was a good episode. I really enjoyed it.
That was a good episode.
Hilarious. Of you going to the
Solomon told you about that, right?
Man,
did Solomon?
That's right.
Because I talked with him about it too.
Yeah, he's like, you gotta fudge the doctor's note. We got a doctor who plays ball, but I went in there and the guy didn't speak a lick of English, and I was like, hey, all right, buddy. How bad do you want that gym?
But I have to say, like, your storytelling of that was really, I loved it because it was very descriptive. I could picture it and see it the whole time.
Oh, good.
So I really enjoyed that. I really loved that. That was really,
that
was a fun one. Yeah. So go listen to that, people.
Okay. The last person that you kind of fanboyed over celebrity, over meeting, or just anybody.
Fanboyed. It's been a long time since I've met a celebrity.
I guess it's in a pandemic. You're not going to meet.
I know, nobody recently. I worked with Roger Waters once. He wrote an opera, and he wanted some legitimate singers, and so I got to work with him, and I was a clear Pink Floyd fan when I was a kid, and so there I was pretending to be cool with a rock god, and so I kept it in check, because the second you act like a fan, you're not going to be at the dinner table, and so I just kept it in check. But inside, I'm like, oh my god, I'm sitting here with a rock legend, and he's like interested in me, and so maybe that was probably the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I'm curious to see what you're going to say. What is your guilty pleasure?
No.
You feel like you know.
I do.
Yeah.
Listen,
what is it?
I listen to your podcast. I feel like I know you more, even though we really haven't had that many conversations in life. I feel like I know you more because I'm listening to this podcast. So what is your answer? And then I'll tell you if I think I'm guessed right.
THC.
That's what I was thinking.
In tea form?
Yeah. Oh, if my lovely friends happen to have some, yes. But it's been difficult. I've only, I've been off since we got here until somebody brought me some. But otherwise, yeah, sure. It's the best sleep aid I've ever had. I have a lot of trouble sleeping, and I'm lucky to get 5 hours. And with just a little bit of help, I can make that 6 or 7. And so I don't hesitate to take that daily, just at the end of the night, not in an attempt to be high, but in an attempt to have a good night's sleep. And there's nothing better. And I've tried Ambien and all that other shit, and that's the worst. Those drugs are the worst. And drinking is no good way to help you fall asleep either.
No, because then you just wake up.
It's not a restful night.
No.
But yeah, I have found that just a little bit of weed will definitely do the trick.
Nice.
It does. It really does.
We all need to work in COC again. Hey, Perrin.
Yeah, well, there's about 9 states in the country that you can now just go pick it up at 7-Eleven. Tennessee is not one of them, I'm afraid.
It is.
Come to Canada. We have 2 stores in our little town already open.
Oh, yeah. No, they're the best. It's so ridiculous. How many people's lives have been lost from drinking? Nobody's life has ever been lost from a little bit of pot. It's ridiculous.
No, I agree with that.
We're living
my mom
in the
does it.
Stone Age. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I gave it to my mother too. She had terrible, terrible back stuff, and I brought her some, and it was like the first time she had relief that wasn't a narcotic.
Yes.
Yeah. And it works. My mom has Parkinson's, and I'm telling you.
Oh, it's brilliant for them. Brilliant.
It helps her so much.
Way down.
The shaking, she's able to walk, she's able to speak and pronounce clearly. I mean, it clears
people
her
who have
mind.
Trouble eating. It for people dealing with cancer and they have trouble eating, or they're losing weight, this sparks their appetite. It's I don't know. It's ridiculous that this is illegal in places.
I agree with that.
Terrible stigma.
Yeah,
I agree. if done properly, you know. So
you don't have to be smoking a joint behind your school when you're 16.
No.
There's like 85 ways to ingest this that aren't like low class.
Edibles. It's the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay, Carrie, I'm gonna mix it up today.
No, I just want a photograph of me like smoking a doobie and be like, hey, here's your low class pick of Carrie off. I'm a Christian Van Horn.
No.
I'm trying to find you a painting. Let me see if I can find one.
A what?
A painting.
Keep going.
Yes.
Go.
Okay.
You asked for a painting. I'm going to show you one.
You have one in your office, right? At home?
There is one.
Thought so.
There's that's the one I want to show you, is a line that I painted. There it is. Here he is.
Let's see.
It's huge. This is huge. It's 4x3.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's amazing. And did you have any training with that?
I had a lot of watercolor training, but not with acrylic.
Cool.
It was sort of a style that needed to be figured out. Here's another one.
Oh, wow. That's so awesome. I love it.
That's really cool.
Once I decided that it didn't have to be beautiful, then it was okay. Like I didn't necessarily need to have it look like some Dutch master. You know, it just had to be what I wanted it to be, and then I was satisfied with it.
It's kind of like with singing too, isn't it?
In a lot of ways, right? I mean, I'm still trying to sound like the people who went before me, but the second you sort of just realize, just be you, that's enough.
It is enough, always.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay, it's my turn, and I'm asking it.
Oh, okay, go.
What is your favorite swear word, Christian Van Horn? I've never asked that in all of our interviews.
It's always my question. Mm-hmm.
I'll go to motherfucker a lot. Yeah, that's pretty classic. Though it's not even that interesting, but you can use it in so many different ways. You know, whether or not you're angry or just proud, motherfucker. You know, like there's plenty of good ways that it works.
Yep.
Look at this motherfucker. I've used that one a lot too. Like somebody cuts you off. Look at this motherfucker. You know, in front of my boy. I was like, oh God, please don't. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to last too much longer.
I mean, you know, any son of mine was probably going to use some language.
As long as it's used at the appropriate time.
I say, don't say it in front of Nana, okay, buddy? Don't say it at school. Don't say it in front of Nana. And otherwise, it's okay.
It's okay.
Last one,
sure.
Please.
Okay, Christian Van Horn, worst habit you'll never break.
Worst habit I'll never break. I don't know. I have a martini habit I kind of like, but sometimes I break it just to make sure I'm in charge of it.
Okay.
So maybe I do break that on occasion.
Okay.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed being a part of this. This is a lot of fun. You guys are great. This show is going to be wildly successful. I know it is already, but you know, just keep doing it because it works.
We're having fun. Yeah, and you too.
Yeah, same to you. We have a good time, right? Why not? I mean, what the hell?
What else is there?
I mean, opera singers are real people. We're not like these divas and divos of old. That is over. So
yeah. Nobody's meeting us at the airport to take our photograph for the paper, right? Maybe Sandra.
No,
I was only met by police at the airport.
Police escort. We've all heard that story now. I was like, yeah, we know you're famous. We get it.
No, but everybody on the plane thought I wasn't famous. All thought that I
They're
did
taking
something.
her away. They're taking her away. For 1 second, you were like, shit. I had that pot tea in my bag. Did they find it?
Oh yeah, when they put their little hands on your shoulders, you know, you're thinking, oh, this doesn't feel like a nice escort.
I told you I was escorted through the Ottawa airport by two policemen for all the wrong reasons, and everybody looks at you. Everybody, they're like, well, there goes a terrorist, clearly terrorist.
That was
I already look a little Middle Eastern. Like I'm like, I feel like they're immediately like profiling me or something. Like people are like, hey, wait a second, don't profile him.
Oh no.
That was a good podcast too. I enjoyed that story. You were like and the best part to me in that story was that you were like, I'm going to hold on to this lie, man. I'm going to hold on till the very end. And you just lied and lied and lied and lied and lied. And finally the dude was like, come on. Like that.
Come on. Just tell the truth.
Well, they keep track. They keep track of how many. They keep track because you have like a printout and then you answer the next guy's question, then you answer the next guy. And I had 14 false statements. And it was like, you're pot committed. You're like, well, I'm going all in. I've come this far.
I know.
Not realizing I'm such a dummy, and I should have realized it's these guys' job to catch you lying. They're better at this than you. Why would you have ever tried this? I just wanted to skip the stupid work line. It was going to cost me 2 hours, and I had to get to rehearsal. I was just trying to skip this dumb line. I was only in town for a few days. It cost thousands because I had to get out. I had to leave immediately. I was denied entry, and I had to go back to the United States. There was only one flight, and it only went one place. And I called Kelly and I said, well, I need a plane ticket out of here. It has to land in the States, and it has to leave within the next 60 minutes. And so she's like desperately trying to, she goes, well, you're going to Boston, dummy.
Did she yell at you?
Oh, no, she didn't yell at me. It was Mother's Day, which was unfortunate timing, but but she got me on a plane back through Toronto the next day, and then on to Ottawa, and everything was fine. But I'm red flagged in Canada forever. I could go back, but I just go right to the line. I say way too much truth. It's only truth out of my mouth. Like I'm like 100% here to work. I'm definitely here to work, guys. I have all my papers.
It's true, isn't it?
Don't lie to border guards.
Canada's, I think, the only place I've ever had trouble with. And it was actually leaving because I had a chef. I used to travel with a chef's knife, and then trying to get back in the United States with a chef's knife. They pulled my ass. They wanted to keep me there. And
my wife had a keychain pepper spray in her bag on keys when we went into Canada, and when we were driving in, and the guy says, "Do you have any weapons, pepper spray?" And I paused. I just paused for a second. I didn't say yes. I just paused. Shit. And then he was like, "Bring your car over to the side there." And this was like, pull every last goddamn thing out of the car. We had been traveling for 4 months. We had been in Santa Fe. Everything, every suitcase, the whole, like real criminals. We were there for 4 hours. I mean, because I hesitated when he said pepper spray. I was like, I can only imagine what it's like trying to get into the United States as a foreigner. It's got to be horrific, because if the
US
Canadians
are worse,
who are lovely, wonderful people, if they're this nasty for us, what are we doing to them?
The U.S. border guards are the worst.
They just wave us across. I got my global reentry. They high five me. They're like, "Oh, you got Cubans and 5 Rolexes? Run on in. Come on, no problem."
Well, there's a special, if you're driving into Toronto, there is one point of entry just for people now with a Nexus card. So you don't even meet anybody. You just put your card up. It's the best.
Cruise on through. Oh, all right.
You don't have to lie.
The next time I drive through.
Yes, it's right by the Rainbow Bridge.
No more lying, Christian Van Horn.
Yeah, I learned my lesson the hard way. Well, it could have been much worse.
You're right. All right.
All the best for your show.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'll see you again, Sandra. I'll see you very soon. Carrie, I hope soon.
Me too.
All right.
Yeah. Be safe.
Thank you.
Bye.